listening to Your Secret is Safe with Me, non-judgmental talk about infidelity with Dr. Marie Murphy. If you're looking for new perspectives on complicated relationship issues, you've come to the right place.
Days go by, they're crawling by.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Marie Murphy. This podcast is all about expanding the conversation around infidelity. I'm a relationship coach, and I specialize in helping people who are cheating on their partners make decisions about how to move forward that are truly right for them. On this show, we feature tools and guidance from my coaching practice, along with advice from other professionals and personal stories of infidelity from people like today's guest. Today, I have the pleasure of talking with Janine, who has made use of Ashley Madison to find discreet affair partners. Janine is a 56-year-old wife and mother, and she loves her husband and is committed to her marriage. But when her husband made it clear that their sex life was over, Janine wasn't ready for her sex life to be over. Janine has a master's degree in education and works in public education, and takes pride in being politically active. She has volunteered for multiple presidential campaigns, starting with Bill Clinton's. Remember those days? So long ago, yet so short time. It's a funny thing, right? Today, we're going to talk about Janine's experiences with Ashley Madison. But first, this episode is brought to you by me, Marie Murphy, PhD. I provide shame-free, blame-free, non-judgmental relationship coaching. You can talk to me about the things that seem too messy or weird or stigmatized to share with your best friend or your spouse or even your therapist, including but not limited to matters related to infidelity. To learn more about my relationship coaching practice or to schedule an introductory coaching session, go to mariemurphyphd.com. Hi, Janine. It's awesome to have you here today.
Hi, Marie. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Terrific. So let's kind of start at the beginning, so to speak. Let's give everybody a lay of the land. Tell us a little bit about your life and your marriage prior to Ashley Madison.
All right. Well, I've been married for 21 years. Our sex life was always fine, but not fantastic, which worked for both of us.
Mm-hmm.
However, once I hit menopause, actually post-menopause, for some reason, my libido skyrocketed.
Can we just pause and talk about how amazing this is? Ladies out there, listen up. Like, this is big news, right? This isn't what we commonly hear.
Right. And I even spoke to my doctor about this, and she said, yeah, you are in the minority, but it does happen. We actually worked on adjusting my hormones that I was taking to kind of bring it down, which did nothing. So I was left feeling horny all of the time. I spoke about myself like a 16-year-old boy. I said, that is probably how I feel. And then on the other hand, my husband has several minor medical conditions, including a bad back, and and for him, it was just more of a chore to have.
Yeah, he couldn't keep up with you.
Right. And his libido also went downhill. So here we are, not being good, appropriate partners in the bedroom.
Yeah.
And for a few years, I was trying to talk to him about this, and we were trying to work on it. We were in therapy. I was getting more frustrated, and he was probably getting more frustrated with me. Because he saw it as me being not so understanding of what he has to go through medically, and I'm seeing it as not being understanding of my needs. Yeah. And I found myself actually in therapy one day saying, I am not going to go the rest of my life without sex. Either it's you or I'm going to outsource. And in that moment, he said, well, I don't want that. And anyway, it became this long conversation. And at one point, it kind of came down to, he actually asked me, would you consider divorce? And I said, yes, I would. And another time we got into an argument, and he said, fine, do what you need to do. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to know the
Okay. So that was like the moment of...
That was the moment.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was sort of I don't know what you would call it, cheating, but not cheating. It was a
Hang on,
don't ask,
back up.
don't tell.
Back up just a second. So this is like kind of a big deal in the
Yes.
course of a long marriage, right? You know, you've
Yes.
been through all this counseling together. Those of us who have done couples counseling know that sometimes it can be kind of a grind and not all that fun, not all that rewarding. And so finally, like you get to this moment of like, okay, we don't want a divorce. And he says, fine, you do what you need to do, but I just don't want to know about it.
Right.
How did you feel in that moment? What was that like for you?
I think probably several different feelings. I was relieved. I was shocked. I was worried. I was guilty. How many other feelings can I throw out there?
Lots.
I was thinking, how am I going to be able to do this? And how will I feel while I'm doing this? Maybe I won't enjoy it. Maybe, I have no idea.
Say more about all of this, because I think these are such important details. Like in terms of the how will I do this? Are we talking about the logistics, the lying, the actual like sex, or all of the above?
So I wasn't worried about how I was going to find sex. I knew there was a way. And I think I had already researched I already knew of Ashley Madison.
Okay.
I think I even got on the app just to look and see what it was about.
Okay, hang on. I should interject something here. Although Ashley Madison is a household name, let's just spell out what it is. It's a website for married dating. So if you're looking for a discreet affair partner, Ashley Madison is like the go-to place for that.
Exactly.
So you'd heard of it.
I want to add that there are plenty of people on there who are in open marriages.
Oh, really?
Also. Plenty of them. So just FYI.
Interesting.
I had already done a little research, and I was talking to my best friend a lot about this and at every step of the way. And she was the one that actually introduced me to the term outsource. He said, if he's not going to be there for you, he's got to be okay with outsourcing if you want to save the marriage. And it took a long while. Of course, it took him, time to accept this. And then he finally threw that out there. And that was kind of the last time it was mentioned.
Okay. So you actually like gave him the term outsourcing. You were like,
in therapy. Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
So that's what brought us up to me actually getting on that site and developing a profile.
And what was that like? What was it? How do you describe yourself?
So, because you don't want to, people don't some people actually do put their pictures out there. So you get on there and you just say the limited amount and you say, this is why I'm here. And for me, I think I did say something about my libido and my needs aren't being met. Do you want to be the one to help me make up? Oh, I said, do you want to be the one to help me make up for years of mediocrity in the bedroom? And currently, I don't even know how I said it, but something about not getting my needs met at all now. There's no sex.
Uh-huh.
And the way it works for the average person is they have public photos and private photos. And if you see someone that you kind of hit it off with, then you can give them a key to unlock your private photos.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the face photos are.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of the opposite. I've seen a million dick pics.
I bet you have.
Madison, and some of these men, it's the first thing you think. It's the first thing you see. So you're looking at the profile, you look at the pictures, and whoa, oh, there it is again. And these men, and if there's any men listening out there, I do not need to see
any more dick pics.
Angles. Oh, it's 3 different angles.
Oh, 3 different angles. Wow. Yeah.
Really, I'm good. So, you see that, you read their story, and I particularly, and this is something else I put out there, I wanted to find one person with whom to have, and I don't know if this makes sense, but a monogamous consenting affair.
Sure, it makes sense.
I wanted someone that was looking for the same because I was worried about STDs. I wanted just one person, and there's a lot of people who also are out there looking.
Yeah.
So do you want me to just keep talking?
Yeah, keep going. So how did it go? Like you first get on the site, you see all the dick pics. Here's what I really want to know. Did you choose to engage with anyone on the basis of their dick pics?
No. In fact, and I will tell you, I was very, very, very lucky. I think I was texting a few people, but the one person that I liked, he did not put any of those pictures on there. He said, if you want to, I can. I said, don't worry about it. Really. I think a lot of women were not really, whatever. And he was really nice. We talked and he said, do you want to meet? He was the first person I met, and he and I got along great at our first meeting, which was outside a cafe, and there's no one else there. This was, and we'll talk about COVID.
Yeah,
right. But this was in June.
June of 2020?
Yes.
Okay, so COVID
yes,
times.
COVID times. There was no one around. It was just the two of us at this one table, and we sat there for like an hour and talking, and it got affectionate and talked about sex. And when I went into this, I remember thinking, I want someone, even though this is a sexual thing, I want someone who I can be friends with, who I have something in common with. I'm really big on pillow talk. I want to be able to lay there and talk about all kinds of things. I don't want someone I have nothing in common with. And, he and I hit it off. And this is so funny and so cute. So I said to him, we were talking about STDs, and this is a Friday afternoon that I met. It was like Friday at 3:00. And I said, so would you be willing to get tested for me? And he said, sure, I will. Monday morning at 8:00, he was at the lab getting tested. Like that.
That's alacrity.
Yes, exactly. So he did it. And then as soon as he got his results back, which I think was just like 2 days later, it was all good. He showed me his results, and he trusted me that I hadn't been with anyone else in 25 years. And he could have asked for, a lab test too, but didn't. I was happy to do it. And then I think a few days later, we had our first rendezvous at a hotel.
And how was that?
It was great. We were both a little nervous. So for both of us, we were both nervous, and he was having a little issues because he was nervous. And he'd been married, or he has been married for many years, over 30 years. And, but we spent a lot of time just laying there and talking, and the rest is history. We sort of have a regular thing every 2 weeks or so. It's hard. His work is very, very busy. He's just like any other guy. So, trying to get together, I think, and I'm sorry, I'm jumping around a bit, but
no.
I think the biggest issue is his work schedule. He's even, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, well, what about you? I mean, what about the logistics on your end?
So I work part-time, so I'm more available than he is. And we meet up during the workday. So he was able, what he does sometimes, if it's a busy workday, is he'll actually bring his computer, his laptop into the hotel room, and he'll check his email every once in a while, which is not the greatest thing, but he's got to keep up his work. And I think that's been the biggest negative, is that his job is very busy. So trying to get what we call our play dates together.
Sometimes have a little work thrown in.
Yeah. And I do want to say on his part, loves his wife. They've been married forever. They have kids. They have grandkids. But it's the same thing. She won't have sex with him. So we're both fulfilling needs. We're friends, and there's no emotional commitment. And, the reason in your introduction of me today, you mentioned, that I've been involved in politics, and I wanted to throw that in there because I've been very, very involved. And I'm liberal. And what I sort of put out to the universe was, if I can meet a guy I'm attracted to who's a Republican, I will never emotionally get involved.
I
will never fall for him. And when I met Mr. X, he told me he was a Republican. Hallelujah, this is a word. And he thought that was funny too. I told him, I said, no, you're my Mr. Right Now. You're perfect. I asked for a Republican, and there you are. And he laughed. He thought that was really funny. So,
it is really funny, but we've got to continue to the punchline. When we chatted before, you said, but he may be a Republican, but.
Oh, no, I do draw the line. So he cannot be a Trumper. I will not sleep with a Trumper. So he's not a Trumper. No, that is where I draw the line. I am not going to be turned on by it. So yes.
I love it. So part of the emotional management strategy is, we've got to have compatibility, but there has to be like that one sort of, or at least one kind of fatal flaw that would prevent me from ever falling in love with you. Yeah. Have there ever been moments? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I've thought about that, and I thought, if we both, let's say we both divorced and started dating. Yeah, I don't think we'd last more than 2 months.
Interesting.
Which is great. It's perfect.
Right.
I really like him as a friend. Our tech banter is real fun. We've like laid in bed for like hours, 5 hours the last time. And we just talked, and there was no pregnant pauses, and the sex is great.
Yeah.
And we laugh, and that's it. And then we go home, and I go home, I help my son with his homework, I make dinner. I'm back to being the same person, but in a better mood. If that makes any sense. I'm probably a better wife and a better mother because I'm getting my needs met.
Yeah, let's talk about that. I think this is really important. And I think it's one of the things that people that aren't, familiar with either social research on infidelity or have experienced it, like just don't understand that this infidelity can function in a way that actually supports marriages. So talk about what that's like for you.
So I find myself in a better mood. I find myself taking care of my body more, just like you are when you're like in your 20s and you want to find a boyfriend or a husband or whatever. So I'm back to doing that. I'm probably in better shape because I want to be that way for this man, for myself, probably more because, oh my God, my body, I'm getting naked. So better shape. I'm in a better mood. So I'm maybe more patient with my son when he's giving me attitude, or I'm just doing my stuff. And it's really interesting because right after this started, my husband said, it's interesting because he said, don't tell me anything, don't ask, don't tell. But then I'll be leaving the house and he'll be like, where are you going?
Right.
I'm like, well, I'm going out, I'm going to run errands, I'm, whatever. And then one day he said to me, you've been in a good mood lately. Like, okay, well, you don't want to know why. So I'm like, oh yeah,
Interesting.
So he noticed that I was in a good mood, which bounces back to him and affects him positively in our marriage. So
Right. Isn't it interesting?
Yeah.
So what is it like for you? I mean, when you are in a situation where you're walking out the door and your husband's like, where are you going? And you're like, I'm going to fuck. But you don't actually say that.
Exactly. And it's like you said, don't ask, don't tell. We wouldn't ask.
Right.
And I don't like the fact that I'm lying, but I don't think all lies are bad. There's plenty of lies out there where if someone says, how do I look? For example, you don't think they look very good, you're not going to say it. So certain lies are fine. And this lie is better for him, better for us. Now I'm just saying, whatever, I'm going out to run errands. Well, I guess that could be an errand.
It is an errand of sorts.
I'm going to the hotel for 4 hours.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. So what do you think? I mean, we've already kind of talked about this a little bit, but I think it bears underscoring, how do you feel about your marriage these days? How do you feel about your life as a whole these days? Like, do you love it the way it is? Is this sort of the perfect solution, or would you wave a magic wand and change something?
Well, I would change my husband's libido, my husband's ability to have wild sex and not because of his, aches and pains.
Yeah.
Missionary position. I would change all of that. I would.
Yeah.
But since I can't, this is the best of both worlds. And there's no guilt because he did say fine. I talked about this for a year. I talked about solutions. We went to therapy. We talked about it out of there. We talked about me getting a surrogate. I called it a surrogate.
Right.
For a while. I talked it through. So, there's no guilt. There's no shame. I'm being careful sexually. I'm not going to bring home an STD. Well, since we're not having sex, I'm definitely not going to give my husband an STD.
Right.
So
these days it's more of a COVID concern too.
Yeah. So and let's talk about that. Because I'm sure people are thinking, well, what about COVID? And you met him during COVID. It was happening. It was so the one good thing with my sexual partner, he actually lives with his in-laws who are elderly and have some health issues. He has to be very careful. He works at home. He has a small bubble. I have a small bubble. He has been tested a couple of times when he went on vacation. He's all good. We check in with each other. So it's worked out well. And I would say if there's any guilt or concern about this entire arrangement, it would be, okay, I'm putting this out there in the time of COVID, but I'm being as careful as I can and trying to balance being safe for my family with COVID and getting my needs met.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's so interesting. We love to look at other people's actions and be like, well, you shouldn't be doing this. But here's the thing. I mean, nothing in life is without risk. You can't like walk down the street without running the risk of getting hit by a bus.
Right. Right.
So, we're all making our way through our lives as best we can. And that involves, making room for some contradictions.
Oh, absolutely. And humans are walking contradictions. We all contradict ourselves and we're all judgmental. And I'm not saying that's a bad part of our DNA. It's part of who we are. We all judge. People can judge me. That's fine. But
yeah,
that's what I'm doing. So
yeah, for sure. I think there are so many radical aspects of, what you've talked about today. And one of them is, the fact that like women's sexual desire after menopause does not necessarily go away. Like, older women, and I shouldn't say older, but like women as we age are not just falling off of the sexual playing field. I mean, I am continuously surprised by the ways in which that idea pops up in so many different places and in so many different forms of messaging. Mm-hmm. So I think I think one thing that's radical is, you naming and claiming your sexual desire and claiming your right to have that satisfied and finding a way to make it work within the context of your life as a whole.
Right.
And there's also, strangely, the myth that women don't cheat, which obviously isn't the case. And that when they cheat, they don't cheat for sex.
Right. Definitely. Now, I love the affection too. I love the friendship. I love the kissing, that passionate kissing that you lose after a couple of years of marriage. That is such a bonus, but
sure.
So that's a bonus to go along with the great sex.
Sure. So. Yeah, absolutely. By sex, I mean physical connection as a whole, not necessarily just whatever we think of as sex. Right. And, I think another thing that your story really illuminates is that you're not doing this because you don't love your spouse in a way. I mean, this is, some might say, a reflection of your love for your spouse.
Right.
Yeah.
It's almost keeping the marriage together.
Right. Right. Right.
Really
Say that again. Sorry.
I just say it really is. It's almost, saving the marriage. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That makes any sense. So.
It totally does. Yeah, for sure. And talk about that a little bit. I mean, I think sometimes we think about like, well, if you're cheating, there's obviously something so seriously wrong that the marriage should end.
Yeah, no, there's something seriously wrong. And that's that sex is missing. And that's a big part of the marriage. So if I can get sex and if he doesn't care about it and is not missing it, then there we go.
Yeah. And tell us about the wonderful aspects of your marriage and your family life that you wish to protect and to maintain.
Yeah. So my husband's a really good father. Let's see. We have a lot in common. He is very smart, very educated. We can talk about anything. We love to travel. It's a big part of our marriage. We have a house together. We have a lot in common. Politics, we have that in common, which is all good. We talk about politics all the time. I don't want to lose that part of it, right? So,
right. And the whole thing, like your relationships with each other's families, your relationship with your kid.
The kid, right. So, yeah.
So how does putting all these pieces together, like what are your overarching thoughts about our social structures of marriage and relationships and monogamy and how we typically organize these things? What's your commentary at this stage?
So I think human monogamy that is a hard thing to pull off. Mm-hmm. I don't even know that humans were really meant to mate for 50, 60, whatever years.
A lot of people would agree with you.
A Darwin thing, very difficult. And a lot of people stay in marriages that are unhappy. We know that that's cliche.
Yep.
So again, it's very difficult to keep a marriage going, and you have to figure that out with your spouse with open communication. And boy, if we didn't have open communication in our therapy sessions, I don't know what is, right? Talking about sex, saying that I need it, saying that, all of that stuff is so paramount no matter what it is. And then sex is so multi-layered anyway in any relationship. You got to ask for what you want, either if that's with your married partner or without. And you have to define what that means. Is that a specific to act? Is it affection? Is it frequency? Or is it, hey, I got to look elsewhere or else this marriage is going to fall apart?
Right. Right. Yeah, no, I think that's such a great point for all of us, no matter what our relationship situation is. If we don't ask for what we want, if we don't know what we want, if we can't convey what we want, there's just no way we're going to get it.
Right.
Yeah. And for so many of us, those kinds of conversations are incredibly difficult for so many different reasons.
Oh my God. Yes. Of course.
And it sounds like you did an amazing job of really saying, hey, this is what's going on with me.
Right. And it's very difficult. Think about the male ego.
Yeah.
The first thing he's going to think of is, I'm not good enough. I can't provide for her. This whole sex thing, and I've got these, and because of my medical conditions, it's not happening. I hate the little blue pill. He tried that, and it actually made him feel nauseous. So that wasn't any fun.
Yeah.
Because he had that problem too. So this is, it's hurting his ego. No, his wife is, going elsewhere. Now, I think he kind of went back into denial, but the conversation, which is why he'll be like, where are you going? Where are you going? And I don't know how aware he is, but we had the agreement, and don't ask, don't tell. So that's that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How does this work for you in terms of like your emotional equilibrium? Does this ever get difficult? I mean, you sound so put together about this. It sounds like you've got it like figured out. It's sorted, like you fixed the problem. But is there ever kind of like any discomfort for you here?
I don't. Yeah, like I said, the most difficult part is kind of leaving the house and him asking me where I'm going.
Yeah.
Even though there's an agreement there's things I need to hide. I'm coming home. Maybe I've got condoms. I need to make sure they're somewhere where he's not going to find them. That's the discomfort.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's so much fun. It is a lot of fun.
That's amazing.
So,
yeah. Good for you. Yeah. Good for you. And how much more fun is it being at home when you have your other needs met elsewhere?
Yeah, it's good. It's good. I'm more relaxed. I can kind of think about and fantasize about what I've been doing, what I'm going to do next time. And one thing we do is we'll send each other sexual emails.
You and your affair partner.
Yes.
Yeah.
About what we already did or what we plan to do, or let's do this next time. And this is what I like. And boy, that is super fun. I have a separate email account just for him. And that is just super fun in between play dates.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's amazing. One of the things that I think is a takeaway for anyone listening to this is that we're all trying to figure out how to be a me within a we, so to speak. If we're in a committed relationship, figuring out how to attend to our relationship with ourself and attend to our own needs and balance that with our devotion to another person or to other people. I mean, it's such an important thing. And in our society, we don't do a great job of talking about this in honest and nuanced terms. And so I think part of what your story reflects is a need for all of us to be honest with ourselves and honest with our partners about what we really want and what we really need, even if it isn't about sex, but of course also about sex.
Right.
For sure. Janine, it's been such a pleasure talking with you. Is there anything else that you want our listeners to know about you and your story?
No, I think it's just important to understand before you get to that point of thinking, cheating is not black and white, obviously. There's a huge spectrum and so many times shouldn't even be considered cheating. And when you think of Ashley Madison and the kind of people that are on there and the kind of people that are getting their sexual needs met, just have an open mind that maybe people are, making the right choices for them, and it's really not affecting the other person negatively. And listen to the stories and, learn from that. And if your needs aren't getting met at home, hey, I should do a how-to guide. I can help you out.
Right.
No, talk to your spouse and think about, what you need between now and the time that you die. And life is short. And you want to make the best decisions for yourself, do what you need with the right communication with your partner.
Yeah. Yeah, I think all of that is so good. I mean, cheating doesn't look the same in every situation. And I think even like the word cheating and the words infidelity and affair, they're so loaded with negative connotations.
Right.
Sometimes I think it's better to think about like arrangements and, how do we make a marriage work? I mean, we don't have a great vocabulary for talking about these things in neutral terms. That's for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And and furthermore, like you're so right. We only live once. We got to figure out how to do it. We're all just figuring out how to do it. And I forget who says this, but the sole purpose of life is to enjoy it.
Right. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Find out how to do that. So
yeah. And figure out how to do that in ways that allow us to live in our own integrity, whatever that means for us. And that doesn't necessarily mean doing everything that other people think you should do or doing marriage the way everyone thinks you should do it or have to do it.
Right.
Yeah. Well, Janine, thanks again for sharing your story with us.
Of course.
It's been so lovely talking with you.
Yes. Thanks for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. And if you're listening and you enjoyed what you heard today, we hope that you'll head on over to iTunes to rate and review the show. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening to Your Secret is Safe with Me with Dr. Marie Murphy. Make sure to click subscribe to get updates on our latest episodes.